going on, guys? Welcome back to United News and some breaking and developing news at the time of recording this video regarding the future or lack thereof of Manchester United CEO Richard Arnold. It's being reported in the last couple of minutes at the time of recording this that the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of United, is set to leave the club, with an announcement possibly coming as soon as today. Let's get straight into this one. This is going to be a big developing and breaking news story over the next 24 to 48 hours. Of course, we'll provide you full coverage of it. Let's go to the person who broke the news, which was Mark Kleinman from Sky News. You can see it on the screen right there. Has said that Richard Arnold, the Manchester United Football Club CEO, is expected to leave the club by the end of the year. An announcement will be made later today and will come shortly before Sir Jim Ratcliffe's Ineos Sport confirms the acquisition of a 25% stake in the club. Now, a bit more on this as I was preparing to do this video. We do have an update as to who the person who is going to be replacing Richard Arnold is likely to be. The very same Mark Kleinman has also said in an exclusive from Sky News that Patrick Stewart, no, not that one, not Charles Xavier, not Picard from Star Trek or anything like that. No, Patrick Stewart, who's Manchester United's general counsel, will be named as the interim CEO in addition to his existing role. Richard Arnold's departure will come after a year of uncertainty about the club's future ownership, with an announcement on that front expected next week as well. So not only are we going to be getting an announcement today regarding and surrounding the future or lack thereof of Richard Arnold, as well as Patrick Stewart coming in, which always, every time I'm going to say that, I'm going to think of the other one. Patrick Stewart coming in this interim position, but also Mark Kleinman also then seemingly confirming that it's expected next week we are going to be getting this Ineos Sir Jim Ratcliffe announcement that a deal has been agreed, and then we get into the process of it being ratified and approved by the regulatory bodies, etc, etc. Now, as also, whilst I'm actually recording this video right now, Simon Stone from the BBC, from BBC Sport, has also tweeted out the following, saying, quote, "Understand Richard Arnold is set to leave Manchester United." So, as I said, an announcement is going to be coming today, seemingly from these journalists that are now reporting this. Once the announcement is made, we'll go live, we'll discuss it more in depth, we'll break down seemingly what United have said, what Richard Arnold has said, if indeed these plans are accurate regarding the person who's going to be taking charge of him on an interim basis. I'm a bit surprised by the Patrick Stewart part of this. I'm going to keep thinking. I'm a bit surprised by the Patrick Stewart part of this because it had been reported by people in the know regarding the Ineos point of view that, of course, Jean-Claude Blanc, someone has been widely linked to be coming in a CEO capacity for Manchester United, the heir to the throne, I guess, the person who's going to be replacing him. The fact that he's not been listed there by Mark Kleinman is partially surprising, but as of right now, I suppose the Ineos deal hasn't gone through, so we don't know how interim this position is. It might literally be interim in the case of he's going to be doing it for a week or something. But then that would make you wonder, why couldn't this announcement wait a week then? If you're going to have a situation where next week the Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos 25% investment is announced, surely then with that comes the announcement of Jean-Claude Blanc's going to come in as the CEO, blah, blah, blah. Maybe that's not ready at this point. We don't know. I mean, when it just says here, and we're going off some quite limited facts, it must be said, we're just going off what these journalists are putting out there right now. Hopefully later on we'll get some more information regarding all of this. But as of right now, they're just saying that Patrick Stewart's going to be the interim CEO. When interim, that could be, we don't know. That could be a week, that could be 6 months, that could be a year. Maybe the deal to bring in Jean-Claude Blanc isn't set already yet. I'm speculating at this point. Apologies. But it certainly is significant news. It's been a tumultuous year for a lot of people at Manchester United, and Richard Arnold's certainly included in all of that. Of course, with all of this strategic alternatives discussion, the handling of various issues, namely the Mason Greenwood situation, whatever side of it you fall on, I think most people would agree that the whole thing was just a giant farce in the way that it was handled, leaked out, backtracking, statements prepared, statements pulled, not being certain people not being informed of situations, people not being happy on either side of the opinion surrounding it. It was just a giant mess. And then, again, a plethora of other incidents as well has put his future under scrutiny and uncertainty. I think he's even said himself on multiple occasions that he's not the biggest football person in the case of knowing how to run a football club on the football side of things. He's, like everyone else, he's part of the Ed Woodward school. He's part of the Ed Woodward group, and he has delegated certainly more than Ed Woodward had, and he has overseen a bit of a change in structure at Manchester United in terms of putting in a football director like John Murtough, but still he has overseen chaos at the club. And as is just required. We spoke about this morning, Flex and myself, about change that is needed, change in getting the best in class in, or certainly people that have a much bigger, vast, and more appropriate CV to be a CEO of a footballing juggernaut like Manchester United. Someone that Jean-Claude Blanc does fit that with the work that he did at Juventus and rebuilding them after their scandals in the 2000s and building them into something that owned their own stadium, removed debt, and then went on to win Serie A for a decade. He sort of built the blocks for that. Then, of course, went over to PSG and was, I believe, the chief marketing officer for PSG and turning them into one of the biggest global brands. A lot of people know PSG not even for football at this point. They've got the Jordan shirts and all this kind of stuff. So he would have a CV more appropriate for a position like Manchester United CEO. But again, it must be stressed, his name in this very early reporting right now hasn't been put out there. His name has been put out there by other reports over the last month or so, sort of speculating about this. But as of right now, again, at the time of recording this video, his name hasn't been put out there by Mark Kleiman or anything like that. So again, we'll have to wait and see indeed what else is put out there. Again, it's a developing story, so more information is going to come out throughout the day. I mean, I say it's a huge story. It's an absolutely massive story. Now, actually, in the last couple of minutes of time just recording this too, The Athletic are now saying that Jean-Claude Blanc is under consideration to replace Richard Arnold on a permanent basis. So that's the key thing here, because as I mentioned previously, there had been reports prior to all of this coming out today that Jean-Claude Blanc was being considered, maybe being named as the interim and then becoming permanent. It looks like here Patrick Stewart is going to be this bridge. Richard Arnold's leaving at the end of the year, which you kind of have to move your brain around, because you go, end of the year, it's November. We're in the middle of November. The end of the year is about 6 weeks away, folks. So that realistically means, let's do the timeline here. If Ineos is announced next week, they have said on multiple occasions, due to the regulatory bodies getting things signed off and approved, they might not be in power, or they might not actually have some power and control till maybe January at the earliest, or late December. So the timings kind of add up here. If Richard Arnold is set to leave Manchester United December 31st, it's around that time that Ineos's power is actually going to come into effect at Manchester United. So at the moment, Richard Arnold, he might just be being put on gardening leave. Again, these aspects of things we don't know. So it could be a case of Richard Arnold, he's done. Officially, he's going to leave at the end of the year. For now, Patrick Stewart might take over the reins for the next, I don't know, 6 weeks or something like that. And Jean-Claude Blanc could start at Manchester United from January 1st. That's a rough and approximate timeline that I've just kind of made up. But that's the way that it could look like. So again, this is a developing story. This is a breaking story. We're waiting on an announcement from Manchester United, which, according to Mark Kleiman from Sky and others, is expected to come today. What are your thoughts on this news? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. As I mentioned, once it's officially announced, we will be live to discuss that. Flex is also going to give his reaction today as well to this story as it develops. What are your thoughts on Arnold's exit? What do you think his legacy is at Manchester United? What are your thoughts on an interim bridging the gap, possibly to like the end of the year or something like that? And what are your thoughts on Jean-Claude Blanc coming in? And is this just the beginning of the changes that are expected at Manchester United, with Ineos acquiring 25% of the business as well? Let us know your thoughts about all of it in the comment section below. As I mentioned, we will be back live later today to cover all of this. It's a big story, and it might be a big day for Manchester United. Stay tuned.